I was there. I don't have to listen to it.
This week's show because it was a disaster.
When you live in a beach resort, it's easy to forget whether you are playing or working. On each week's show, we settle in with a cocktail and try to figure out if there is a difference. This is Day Drinking on Delmarva.
I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
And I am Tony Russo, no relation, and you're listening to Day Drinking on Delmarva, the podcast about life and culture on the Delmarva Peninsula. Todd drinks because he gets to live here. I drink because I have to live here, and I have been putting them away this week. Oh my golly. So much stuff has gone on. We've been off for 2 weeks, and then we haven't been off for 2 weeks in a long time. Just a little bit of bad luck and more bad luck. I had work stuff. Todd had work stuff. It kept happening on Tuesdays, but now we're back with plenty of stuff as we kick off the summer season. Memorial Day weekend is in our, listen, I hope you're in our rear view mirror. I hope you're listening to this from away. I hope you come here, and I hope you enjoy your time at whatever beach you enjoy your time at. I drove from Delmar to New Jersey on Friday, and I didn't have any traffic, but Route 13 and Route 1, because I'm going the other way. So I'm going north, and the people were coming south to the beaches, and the backup was Route 1 was a parking lot from like the Indian River Bridge to the Delaware Memorial Bridge. And again, God bless you. The whole time I'm thinking like, there's nothing in the direction you guys are driving that I think is worth sitting in this kind of traffic for.
Go a different weekend.
Oh my goodness. I'm happy they come, and I'm happy they enjoy themselves. Yeah. It's just a shock to me, like that. It's like, well, we're going down to the beach. We're going to be in traffic for 14 hours.
Yeah. Well, and it's a broken system, right? Everybody has this one day off. And then of course, if you have fun on that one day off, there's a certain segment of the population that, admonishes you because you're not celebrating the troops enough. And then you're loading up the car. I'll never forget, years and years ago, I saw somebody on Coastal Highway. It was at like probably 4th of July traffic. And it was this girl in the back seat, and I was stuck in traffic, but whatever. I live here.
And once you're actually at the beach, that happens all summer.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but there was this girl in the back seat, and she's 2 feet away from me, separated by our car windows. Yeah. Younger girl, parents in the front, siblings next to her. And she's looking out the window with just this sad, terrible, defeated look on her face. And, like, not creepily, but I just, I caught eyes, and I gave her a little, a friendly smile and a wave. And, she perked up a little bit, and it's just like, all I'm thinking about is dad yelling at the kids, like, we're going to have fun, and we're going to have fun now, damn it. And having the wait all the time. But it's a growing area, which is going to create more problems. I heard something about even this past Memorial Day weekend that a number of the bars and restaurants haven't done as well as they have in the past, which is interesting because it was like the first decent weekend we've had in a couple weeks this year. And somebody was making the point that Ocean City specifically is pretty expensive to get to and to stay at. So people are staying in, even so the grocery stores were full and that sort of thing.
Exactly. I mean, am I very loud? I feel very loud.
No, you're good.
Okay. I feel like that's what I do. I mean, like Airbnb, I'm going to go across the country this August, and I'm going to eat in a restaurant maybe 3 or 4 times in 3 weeks. And I'm going to go to a bar like for a beer. and I'm going to go to a liquor store for a gallon
Bottle.
of whiskey. Yeah. And, I think that and it's fun to kind of see like kind of COVID backing up and people being like, you know what? And this isn't a knock on any of the bars. It's just probably time to reimagine, the scene in some way. But I
Mhm.
think more and more people are becoming like me and be like, "Well, not only is it cheaper, but I don't have to wait for a drink. I don't have to stand in line, and I don't have to have some idiot throw up on my shoes."
Yeah.
And 3 years of that, and people are like, "Yeah, all right, and I'll just go to the beach, I'll put my feet in the water, and I'll come back home." I was wondering that because I when we spoke this morning, that's what one of the things I wanted to talk to you about
Yeah.
was it an insane asylum down here, or was it normal?
Well, it was an insane asylum, right? And so like all of the talk of numbers at this point are sort of anecdotal, but like I sat in traffic on Sunday afternoon, a fog rolled in and everybody left the beach at the same time. We were headed up to an event, and it took us, a half hour to get the final 2 miles from Bethany to
Wow.
Dewey. And that was troubling. But we had with the event wasn't until 8 o'clock and we were going up at 4 o'clock. So like maybe baked in was the go early, plan on staying late. And we were not stressed by the traffic that we faced. But
Right.
there were lines at the starboard, there were lines tables full in all the restaurants, people, again, everything is just kind of like anecdotal at this point, whether it was better or worse or the same from years past. But I think on the whole, people felt like it was a bit lighter, which is a shame in some respects because it was still monstrously crazy, right? It's like, oh, this seems light, and I still can't get through the crowd on a
Right.
Saturday afternoon. Um, so yeah, I think over the coming weeks, days and weeks, we'll maybe hear a little bit more from people, but we'll find out.
That's for my weekend, I said I was going north. We actually went to see Carmen the opera at the Metropolitan Opera in New York City, and it it was the kind of spring day in New York City that they literally write songs about.
Oh yeah.
It couldn't have been more pleasant. And if you have a chance to see this run of Carmen, it has been reimagined. Carmen is usually like set in like in Spain in like a peasant town or outside a peasant factory. This was set at like the US border, and all the girls were factory workers, and you got the impression it was like chicken plant, but that could have just been my thing. But the visuals were bloody insane, and all I can do for the listeners is to please go to YouTube and look up Carmen Metropolitan Opera. They have like sneak previews. They have like trailers for Come See the
Cool.
Opera, and the entire back of the stage had just lights across it, like um laterally, lights that they would change colors and things. And so several times there were car chases
Oh,
on
neat.
the stage where they had a semi truck, and the back half of the semi truck was open so you could see the girls were in there dancing and singing or whatever, and they had the tires spinning, but everything was, and the lights in the background were going really really fast, and then they had cars come in and then drop back and then
Yeah.
come in, and it was just, I mean, it's one of the great operas for a reason. The music is,
Mhm.
and if for people who don't, that's the one that goes, everybody
Okay.
knows the songs, right?
Yeah.
And it was an absolutely astonishing experience.
That sounds pretty neat.
Yeah, and
And
again, just look up the songs on YouTube just to see the production value, which is, I know your thing, was insane. It was worth the price. If they had just mimed the whole thing, I would have been disappointed. But I still would have been really impressed by the
right.
staging of it.
And so you survived the big city.
Oh yeah, that's we go to New York all the time. I don't go as much as I did when I was a kid, but it's not a problem for us. And New York, was sanitized by the good mayor Giuliani before he lost
Good.
his mind. So it's not like
America's mayor.
it's not like it's a dangerous place anymore.
Well,
Um,
I wonder if we're slowly transitioning and switching places, because where I was 2 weeks ago in actually recovering from getting work done while we weren't able to jump on, we went to Nashville for a friend's 40th
I saw.
birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry. I want to share a private moment with the
Yeah.
public. So Todd was like, "I'm sorry I ghosted you," because he didn't say that he wasn't going to be around, but I said, "I follow you on social media. You can't ghost anybody, on
Yeah.
so." So he's like, "This is me partying in Nashville." I'm like, "Well, we're probably not doing a show then." I would guess.
I'm guessing it
It's
was
not
the
like I was
same.
sitting here crying and waiting for your email. I knew where you were.
What is he doing? What is he saying? Um, but so I had a moment in Nashville, and I don't know. I talk about the expense of things. It was a pretty cheap flight, and we had a great uh, place to stay with a full kitchen, and we were like 2 blocks off of the main drag, Broadway, right? That's the main drag, and it's like so Coastal Highway would be like Coastal Highway if all of the bars on Coastal Highway were 4 stories tall, right?
And right on the
It
street.
and right on the street. And maybe it's only a couple of blocks, but I definitely got to the point where I felt myself being a little overwhelmed. And because it's like wall to wall people, but then it's also like floor to ceiling people. And this is when we're outside crossing, they have these huge crosswalks where the cars go, and then
Mhm.
all traffic stops, and it's a
Sea
pedestrian
people.
crossing all directions, right?
Mhm.
And it was a lot. And I think I'm spoiled by my humble little busy town of Dewey Beach and Ocean City, and being in the big city. There were a couple times where I was like, man, this is a bit
Oh,
much.
now my experience is always kind of the opposite of that. One of the things that I noticed this time, I notice it every time, but every time it's just more and more apparent. There are different colored people in
Oh,
New York City.
you mean you don't have those
Not
those
only are there
flavors in Delmar?
Not only are there different colored people, but the white people have different faces. They have different eyes, they have different noses, they have different foreheads, they have different haircuts. The diversity of just plain old white people
Yeah,
is so refreshing. I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's right. There are different people here."
that's amazing.
There are different languages being spoken on the street, and nobody is like staring like, "Oh my god, what language is that?" And no, 12 people.
Yeah,
12 people within earshot speak, this Cambodian dialect that you're just talking. So no, that's never. I don't get people claustrophobic. I just get behavior
yeah.
claustrophobic. Oh,
Very
okay.
good.
But I have to tell you my best story. I'm so glad we brought it up because I've never had a better experience watching someone be awful to someone else than I
Okay.
had at the opera. So we went to the matinee. Matinee is cheaper. That means old people. So there was an
Mhm.
old man behind us, and he was an old New Yorker. He may as well be wearing a sign that said, I'm an old." He was like a John Mulaney impression of an old New Yorker. And he was going on and on. And so kind of set up at the end of the play, spoilers, Carmen gets killed. And in this production, she gets killed with a baseball bat. But it's not Al Capone. He just swings the bat toward her and she falls down, and
Right.
he sings the last bit, and then the thing is over. So he swings the bat, and people are crying. I'm sobbing, and he goes, "You could never kill a woman with just one swing of a baseball bat." So that's the guy. Here's the story. Oh,
Oh man.
no. It gets way better than that. So we're sitting there and he's talking to the woman, I believe, who had come with him. And I don't know if she was a caretaker, like maybe not a caretaker really, but he was a little off the rails. So maybe his like niece
Right.
and because she was 30 years younger than him. And they're talking and she's like, listen, I have to go to the bathroom. I was it was an intermission. So he goes, oh yeah. No, we should go to the bathroom. So he stands up, she leaves, he moves one seat and starts talking to the stranger who was next to them. And he says, do you want a pretzel? And she says, excuse me. And he's like, well, we're going out. I get your pretzel. And she said, no, thank you. And she had an accent. I'm not telling you what accent.
Okay.
He says to her, oh, how is the French? Is the French in this really good? And she says, oh, I'm sorry, I don't speak French. And he said, oh, are you and he said, oh, are you do you speak Spanish? And she looks at him full in the face and with the kind of disbelief that I can't reproduce and says, I'm Japanese.
Oh man.
And she didn't look a little Japanese. But also she was a native speaker. Like she had a slight accent, but
Right.
maybe she'd been here for 40 years or something. It was just the kind of accent that anyone who grew
Right.
up speaking English but came from a different place might have. Very slight. And this is why I could see why he was confused what accent she was speaking. The face
Right.
was kind of a giveaway that it was some sort of Asian accent. I would have guessed Japanese. I mean, she looked like a Japanese person. And so then he starts talking to her about Kurosawa films.
Oh no.
And I just couldn't. I wanted to, it was like, all right, this is funny, and then it was cringy, and then it was funny, and then it was like, oh God, won't this opera? I can't wait till Carmen gets beat to death with that bat, so this guy will talk about something else.
Oh man.
So that was my my Labor Day weekend, and you guys got away and did something fun too.
And we did. We went up to we did the Starboard. We did Dewey Beach. It's we kicked things off right, and saw our friends the Pips play, a twin duo guitarist, very talented musicians, play on the deck on Friday, and then Saturday morning we had a little bit of fun. We have this podcast that we've been doing off and on up there, Dewey Raw, just kind of, same thing. Try to be behind the scenes of what's happening in what we call the biggest little party town on the Eastern Shore. And we've done it in the past where we've like handed the mic off to some people just to go around and do a man on the street interview here or there. And I think we might have struck gold with a now former employee, a young girl, 24 years old. She has like the old school, like Jenny McCarthy vibes from, the heyday of MTV. She's just lively, personable, pretty, and just has all the right things going. And her name is Cameron. She works up in DC. She has a rather serious job as a legislative assistant or analyst rather. And so she blows off steam with her and her best friend, who's going to be a lawyer. And so like these young professionals coming down to Dewey Beach, and that's kind of what it's all about. And just handed the mic off to her and let her go around and interview a bunch of the staff that she knows pretty well, interview some of the friends and random people that are at the Starboard. And, it's one of the great things about Dewey Beach, probably more so than Ocean City, is that it is a fun place. It's like a block party, right? Obviously, the whole thing is a mile long. Everybody's been coming there for a couple years. If you don't know the person next to you, you're gonna meet them at some point. hopefully they're going to recognize your ethnicity if it's blatantly obvious, unlike unlike your buddy. But there, and it's just it's one of those nice community things. I feel since the beginning, since the inception of Good Clean Fun Life, we've always strove to show people in a positive light. That's kind of like our mantra. That's kind of the thing that we like to do. And there's a lot of shitty stuff in the world, and terrible things happening. And I don't feel at all guilty about bringing a little sunshine to to my little corner of the internet, and doing fun things like this, and like the work that we do with bars and restaurants.
Is Dewey Raw up yet?
Say again?
Is it up yet? Is Dewey Raw up yet?
It is, because I was excited to get it up because I thought it went so well. So yeah, you can check that out on Spotify or Apple Tunes. I was having we were talking about this a little bit before the show, but I think maybe it's a good segue. Talking about podcasts, and you have another podcast, I have another podcast. And I wanted to let you know that somebody actually reached out to us this week. Some more people who are interested in creating a podcast. And I think that the space for podcast is going to get there's however many uploaded every day, but I think there's still opportunity for people out there. And with your podcast actually getting some advertisement, I think after 10 years, maybe I can only be a little bit hopeful that some of that can work its way around, right?
Well,
where people will see the value in doing something like that.
I think it's so hard for me. I'm sorry. So I don't know if we talked about it several times. I don't know if we talked about it on the show, because I think I was being cagey about it, and then we disappeared for 2 weeks.
Yes. We were not going to say anything because it wasn't official,
but now it is. And if you haven't listened, I have to encourage you to listen to the Pines Cast. That is right. Tony Russo, voice of Ocean Pines, every other week interviews someone about their life and times in Ocean Pines. I've interviewed the chief of police. I interviewed the tennis pro, the head of racket ball or racket center. And he was a great guy. Terry Kolnacker. I get his name wrong. I have to read it. But anyway, Terry, great guy. Chief of police, great guy. Bob Beckelman, the golf pro, great guy. Bob Beckelman's a funny story. I did his big homecoming story. Like, it was one of the first stories I wrote at the Bayside Gazette. That's how long he's been there. And we got to talk a little bit about, the old times and Bayside Gazette times and things like that. And then they picked up a sponsor almost immediately. I have a theory. And if I were a sales type person, which I'm not, because I work too hard making my stuff to not to take no for an answer, but to even have to ask. I feel like people should come to me and say, "Golly, you're working so hard. I should pay you." And they don't. And I don't know why they don't, because I'm here.
It's absurd that they don't.
Maybe I should put my Venmo, do one of those people who puts his Venmo on his car. But anyway, there are several things that are happening and going to happen over the next 3 years, 2 years now. Thing number one, AI search. I love AI search. I think that our friends at the scumbagsrus.com are going to be in for some trouble, because Google is going to become ungameable. If you want Google to list you, you have to have the answer to the question people are asking. You don't have to have enough backlinks. You don't have to have enough keywords. You don't have to have enough enter time on site, bop, beep, bop. Nope. You have to have what people are asking for. That will benefit me. or benefit us
Yes.
because we actually, even though we don't do promotion, we do talk about things that people care about. Now they're going to know.
Yeah.
So that's thing number one. Thing number two, Apple introduced, as I think you know, transcriptions. So Apple
yeah.
transcribes, and those transcriptions are searchable. So again, AI knows what the show is about. When people ask a question of AI, they can say, well, this show is about this. Here's your answer. Thing number three, YouTube is, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I fought for too long and I lost, and I shouldn't have fought as long as I did. But YouTube is going to be the next Google. Insofar as it isn't the, right now it's the second largest search engine. I believe before too long it'll be the first largest search engine. And my official prediction for YouTube is there is a future where YouTube is essentially a commercial for your Patreon. So you put your show up there and with ads. And if people don't want ads, then they can go to your Patreon from YouTube. And if they do want ads, then they can pay for, or they can watch the ads, or they can pay for YouTube without ads. But as I understand it, if you have ads embedded in YouTube, like if we put an ad in our show, that there's no amount of money you can pay to not have that air. Like if you subscribe to YouTube, then the commercials, the baked in commercials run. YouTube just doesn't insert extra commercials. So I feel like that is the where people are going. And I think that's why people are so interested in podcasting now, because it's a way to get what you're saying out there where people can see it and not have to worry about, can you game the system? Can you buy enough Google ads to reach the top? I mean, it's a really, really interesting time, and it's very satisfying, I have to say. And I can't wait to talk to her because I believe that she's going to be on the show. But the former publisher of the Bayside Gazette, the person who was responsible, if we're going to be honest, for bringing podcasting to Delmarva. We never sold any ads on that either, but but she did give us a spot in the paper, and we were allowed to say we were the Bayside Gazette podcast, and a couple times she came and she'd say, you got to take that out. but we were drinking for real, and and I don't necessarily blame her. So I do think that podcasts, I mean, I've always said that podcasts are the way to go, but I think that people are going to be more interested in adding. The other reason I believe that podcast ads are going to start becoming better and more expensive, and especially here, and this is what I thought. So the podcast that I do for Ocean Pines may have a sponsor, and it would be a large sponsor, and I'm not going to say who it is because A, I don't want to jinx it, and B, it's not my story to tell. But it is the kind of sponsor that buys radio ads. And now, if you're the kind of person that's spreading around all this money to iHeart, and iHeart's like, we'll put you on podcasts too, and we'll insert, and it does. I don't know if you've ever listened, but podcasts are getting radio ads. Like, I will hear ads for local companies on my podcasts that are
national syndicated podcast,
right? And they're auto inserts. So these guys are paying 23 cents per listen or whatever to get the geo-targeted ads, but you don't know what that bill is going to be at the end of the day, and you don't know who's listening to it, and you don't know where until you get the report it was even played. So if for a fraction of the money that you would spend in iHeart, you can just slap your name on the sponsorship of a show, that's not hard math to do for anybody who can do math. And that is what really excited me about it, when I realized that it could very well be a reaction to the inconsistencies. You don't have any control over your iHeart.
And impressions, right?
And and the impressions are nothing. Like the
Yeah.
impressions don't mean anything, and you don't always, you know, and it's clearly an ad, right?
Right.
It's not a baked in thing where it's like, hi, I'm Tony from the show you're listening to. I want to tell you about this sponsor because one of the best things about this sponsor is it means that I don't have to go out and beg for quarters, you know, outside of the baseball games or whatever.
Right.
And so it's exciting.
Yeah.
I feel very hopeful. Having a
Yeah.
splendid hair day. If you're listening on on the podcast, you should definitely go to the video because Tony is having a splendid hair day.
Hey, and I did a little camera upgrade too. So
Yeah, you're nice and clear. Yeah,
nice and clear.
we're having pretty face, pretty hair.
Yeah, that's this Todd and Tony on the Pretty Podcast. Yes, I think I agree with you. I'm hopeful, and I'm going to keep doing what we're doing. Also, I wonder if at some point, I've not looked into it, if we're able to make our own AI based on all of the podcasts that we've created. So we basically have we can look up any of the answers that we've given to any of the questions that we've posed to ourselves.
Not only that, I'll tell you what, we have so much audio
Yeah.
that we could have AI do our shows for us. We could just upload them. And
Yes,
with our own AI, because you can, I think I told you my boss was messing around with something and he sent me back something that I didn't say in my voice.
oh man.
So he uploaded my voice as a sample, and then he uploaded some text. And then, I mean, it was me talking like this. It didn't sound like Tony. There was no cursing, but it was
Right.
because when I hit play, I'm like, this sounds a lot like me.
Well, that's, and here again, that's why YouTube is going to be important, because you're going to be able, you know, there's still that uncanny valley at least at this point for video of imitations. So,
well, but and this is the thing that I've heard from several people who do this like professionally and also get paid for it. The premium is going to be on non-AI stuff. Are you a human being making stuff, or is this AI cranking it out? And if you can be a human that's making stuff, the stuff you make is going to be at a premium, because AI is going to get really tiresome really quick.
I think, well, for me, it's already there.
Yeah.
Like the promotional ads and stuff like that you see people here again. Memorial Day is a perfect example of that, right? Like how many Canva generated flags, thank you for your service and your sacrifice. Brutal. Did you see? And are you going to go to a business because they posted that?
And then that's the thing that is really is again exciting to me, because I can make stuff. You know, what happened is AI came out and all these marketing fucks jumped on there and they're like, this is how we talk. And people are like, oh my God, I put something in the AI and it sounds like a poorly written commercial. Yeah, because we took the Nazis out. I don't think we need the Nazis, but I do think like stories need tension. And so getting AI to make a story is not the same thing as getting AI to make a good story. And I'll tell you what, you don't know, because if you knew what a good story was, you wouldn't be just publishing this shit on AI. You would use AI to make a story, but then edit it so that it was good instead of bad.
Make it good. Yeah.
That's what I do. That's my job. I make things that are bad less bad, you know. But that takes a human brain, because the AI only knows what marketing people like, and marketing people like whatever they're paid to like. And the other reason we have trouble getting advertisers is that I can't be paid to like anything for some reason.
Right.
We got the curse.
It's the blessing and the curse of your honesty.
Yes,
right?
I'm authentic, but a little bit of a wild card sometimes.
Sure.
So we will call it a day, only because we either got to keep going or stop. And and I have other stuff to do today. So I got nothing else anyway. How about you?
I got nothing.
Actually, I'm sorry. I do have one other thing. I
Okay.
wrote about this AI thing. It's called Once Upon a Time There Was a Parable, and you can find that at buytonyrusso.com. We didn't do our ads. I guess that'll be my ad for.
That's the
I
ad
don't
at the
even know if it
very
was my
end.
turn, but it'll be your
Yeah.
turn next time. My ad
So
is go to buytonyrusso.com, BYTONYRUSSO.com, and click on Once Upon a Time There's a Parable. I record all of my essays now, so you can listen to it if you're not a big fan of the whole reading thing. I dig that because I'm digital forward. I'm putting it on YouTube. So
Love it.
now I got nothing. How about you?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, remember, till next time at the beach.
It's happy hour whenever you say it is.